Hi, everyone. I'm Billy Himpler from GovCon Leaders Circle. Today I'm joined by John DeCarlo. How are you, John?
I'm doing well. Thanks, Billy. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. And where do you work, John?
I work at the District Communications Group, DCG.
DCG.
I've been
Great.
here for about 9 months now. So I'm the finance partner to the executive management team and project leadership. So really happy to be here.
Excellent. Yeah, thanks for being here. Well, tell us a little bit about DCG.
Yeah, so DCG is a veteran owned and award winning connected solutions partner. So we bring audience insights, communications, research, technology, kind of all together to help organizations effectively engage with their audiences and achieve better outcomes. So to put sort of some life into that, yeah, some examples. We've partnered with the Department of Veteran Affairs to support our veteran community in a number of ways. We've worked with the VA Office of Suicide Prevention on a national campaign that resulted in close to 1 million help-seeking actions to the Veteran Crisis Line. We've run campaigns for DOL vets. Last year, for example, we directed more than 600,000 veterans and their families to the off-base transition training employment workshops. And then we've run campaigns to expand the use of GI Bill benefits and digitally connect our veteran community to the benefits and services that are available to them. We've done some other really neat work with the Department of Homeland Security and Department of Transportation, leading nationwide campaigns to combat human trafficking. So a couple of years ago, we executed outreach at high impact events like the Super Bowl, directing which directly led to close to 500 calls to the National Human Trafficking Hotline. So
Wow.
some really neat work that
Yeah.
we do in just amplifying our client's message
Yeah.
and making the world a better place.
Yeah. That's great. That's awesome. Okay. A little history lesson. So, when was DCG started? Who are the founders? How did it start? Tell us a little bit about, yeah,
Yeah,
found.
DCG's been around since 2010. Adam Clampett is a Navy Reserve public affairs officer and the founder of the business. And so it's headquartered in Washington, D.C. We've got staff spread out geographically across the United States. And historically, we've focused on providing communications, marketing, research, and analytical services to our clients. We are very excited about where we're headed next. And as I mentioned, through a series of organic and inorganic growth opportunities, we're setting up the business to put us on the edge of innovation in incorporating emerging technology into our service delivery. So we have a clear objective in doing that, and that's to add significant value to our clients, speed of delivery, real-time insights that'll empower effective decision making. So we are, all in on that effort and really excited about our future.
Kicking butt, it sounds like.
Yeah, we're building some momentum, that's for sure.
Yeah. Good. 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 Excellent. Well, I do want to come back to DCG, but wanted to touch on kind of what you're seeing in the market right now, and perhaps how DCG is applying and navigating. A lot has happened in the market at the moment. In the last 18 months, change in administration. We're coming up on the halfway point. We've got the midterm elections in the fall. Last year was a crazy year for a lot of firms. How are you guys navigating? What are you seeing in the market? Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, it has been a very challenging time, with Doge. And while that's quieted down a bit, it's still active. Um, I think the current environment is pushing contractors to do more with less, and we've certainly felt the effect of that. It's created some real challenges for our business, but also I think accelerated our evolution into becoming a tech-enabled partner for our clients. Um, and so that's certainly been a change in the environment from prior years. Another change we've monitored, the SBA made a ruling recently that'll shift more work uh, designated for small businesses towards veteran-owned and disabled veteran-owned small businesses, which positions us nicely from a delivery perspective. So, yeah, the DOL Vets mission that I mentioned earlier, we're already supporting veterans in identifying and creating job opportunities, including starting veteran-owned small businesses. So, yeah, that ruling from the SBA will add a little fuel to the to our ability to support the veteran community in that capacity,
That's great.
and let them achieve some business success. Um, and then one more that I'll offer is there was an executive order that's focused on improving efficiency and accountability with contractors by structuring contracts as firm fixed price rather than cost reimbursable. So we see that as a positive shift for DCG, especially as the government moves away from FTE based contracts. Our focus on delivering tech enabled services is certainly aligned with supporting an efficient delivery model. Those are some of the developments that have been ongoing that we've been tracking that have impacted our business, and we see it is impacting the industry going forward.
Yeah. That's those are all pieces we've noted in the news and with other contractors we're working with. Yeah, we'll see what happens with the changes with SBA. I think on the flip side, a lot of firms are wondering, hey, how does that negatively impact us? It's great that, at least in your case, there is a positive direct impact. Um, in terms of maybe recommendations on or wishful thinking, where else would you like to see the market head this year, next year?
I think a little more certainty, and that's probably been the case in government contracting for some time, working from yeah, one unapproved budget to another. But
Sure.
uh, with the direction that the current administration is taking, there's certainly an emphasis on military capability, and so we want to get into that and position ourselves to support that mission. And so, from a campaigning standpoint, I think understanding where we can support our federal government in, sending out the right message and highlighting some of the fantastic work that our warfighters and veteran community and other civil servants are performing.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. Defense tech, AI, OTAs, they're all the buzzword agentic. Those are all the buzzwords right now that seem to be front lines or front pages. Okay, great. Well, bringing it back to you, I did want to leave some time here specifically for talking about you. So let's walk through from graduation to getting into the GovCon space. Where are you from originally?
So I grew up in Montgomery County, Maryland.
Yeah.
I'm now in Northern Virginia, so haven't strayed too far. I graduated from University of Maryland with a degree in finance, and actually, my first job was not in government contracting. It was with a fire protection company, and I was fortunate enough getting into that to have a boss who was a seasoned accountant and helped me build a solid foundational knowledge of accounting. And at the same time, I was also taking evening college courses to reach the 150 credit requirement to sit for the CBA exam. I had, in earning my finance degree, had avoided as many accounting classes as I could. I was just more drawn to the analytical side of finance. But taking those accounting classes while, you know, having a day job in accounting, I think really helped accelerate my grasp of corporate accounting concepts.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. And then, real quick on that, it's funny. It seems like it keeps creeping up. There's such a shortage of accountants right now. So good on you for sticking with that on the early part of your career. But yeah, different level at the moment. There's a vast shortage. It's something like 30% down from 10 years ago to today in terms of active CPAs. Isn't that crazy? 30%, almost a third. Um, yeah, it's a valuable skill set.
It is a valuable skill set, much needed.
Yeah. All right. So shifting, but bring it back. So how did you get into GovCon? Because outside this area, you hear GovCon, you're like, what is that? That's it's just some
Yeah, so
yeah. Go ahead.
yeah, I actually had a recruiter reach out to me with an opportunity. My first foray into GovCon was actually with a small NASA contractor out of Lanham. So they were supporting the James Webb Space Telescope project, among other things.
Okay.
And at that stage in my career, I was being introduced to and becoming familiar with the federal acquisition regulation. So lots of fun stuff there. Great reading there. The different contract types, fixed price, time and materials, cost reimbursable,
Yep.
indirect rate, indirect cost rate structures, wrap rates, pricing, all of that kind of. And at a small company, I was hands on in a lot of that activity. So I think that really helped me get a grasp of government contracting and how some of the accounting and job costing is different from other service providers. Um, and so, great experience that led into an introduction to an opportunity with a larger publicly traded government contractor, where I had a fantastic mentor and my first ability to grow into a leadership role. So that was all, before I stepped into a CFO role and had more of that controller and assistant controller level responsibilities.
Got it. And for those tracking, so was that Genesis and then IRG or
Yes, Genesis
okay.
Engineering was the NASA contractor, and International Resources Group was a USAID and Department of State contractor.
Got it. Got it. Great. Yeah. And then transitioning into your first CFO role. Tell us about that. You were there for 10 years. Go ahead.
Yeah. So MS was a great opportunity. You know, MS is a CRO, contract research organization, running clinical trials for the NIH and biopharma clients. Incredibly smart people, really built up on a strength in biostatistics. If you work for a CEO who has a background in biostatistics and can easily run complex math problems in their head in a matter of minutes or seconds, like a Alan Turing, it keeps you sharp. You've got to be well prepared before you walk into a meeting with folks like that. So I started there as a controller. Um, Started getting smart on the business, first time in the CRO space, and was also building relationships throughout the organization. And I think when it comes to my experience, I can't stress the importance of building relationships enough, with other business leaders, uh, thinking through ways to make their world better in terms of access to data, interpreting data, establishing efficient processes and controls. I've always loved getting outside of the accounting department and getting to know the business behind the numbers. So had a good chance to do that with a lot of great people, very talented people. Um, and then as a controller, I also had an opportunity to implement a new ERP system. So at IRG, I had been involved in that, but had never been in a leadership role. So now I was the executive leader behind that project. And you know, anyone who's done that kind of work for a medium or large organization knows it's a significant undertaking.
Sure.
But I loved making that kind of contribution, and also had a chance in the role of controller to develop and implement the framework for the government's CAS, cost accounting compliance, as the business graduated out of small business status. So got exposed to that as well, and some important compliance concepts as well. From there, was promoted to VP and got a chance to be involved for the first time in some sell side diligence when Emis was acquired by Berman Capital. So I and post acquisition had really an incredible opportunity to step into the CFO role. Um, and that was an exceptional opportunity. It was not a gradual introduction to the world of private equity. I was thrown in, but I was ready for it. I had established an understanding of the business. I had some ideas on where we could achieve efficiencies and margin expansion. So in the 3 years I was there, we went through a 14-month period where we acquired 7 businesses.
Wow.
We were expanding globally and adding new capabilities to position us to win and execute on larger clinical trial work. Um, and so 2 of those 7 acquisitions we actually closed while we were also running a sale process, which eventually had a very favorable outcome. We sold to New Mountain Capital. Um, and, in the next phase of Emis's evolution, I was able to be a part of another buy side acquisition in early 2023 before stepping away from the role to recalibrate and spend some time with my family.
That's great. Wow. You don't have too many roles in your career these days where you're going to be at a company for 10 years. Now, granted, that wasn't one role for 10 years, but nonetheless, any company being at 10 years, it's very impressive.
Yeah, I mean, I think there were some unique opportunities for career advancement while I was there.
Yeah.
And over that 10-year period, it felt like I was working at maybe 3 or 4 different companies,
Okay.
along that stretch. So
Sure.
definitely exposed to a lot of new learning opportunities and leadership opportunities. Ways to contribute to the business growing and adding value. So I think that was probably unique in terms of just the number of opportunities I had to continue progressing in my career while staying at the same company. But
Mhm.
that was certainly a company worth staying at. There are outside of its evolution, a lot of great people to work with, great
Yeah.
mission. The public health mission of the business really resonated with me. We, for example, ran the phase 1 clinical trial for the Moderna COVID vaccine. So I had nothing to do with that. We had a lot of heroic folks at Emis, and who are still there, and the good work that we were doing. For me, I felt created a sense of pride and fulfillment to be able to contribute, albeit indirectly, to the work that was having a real impact on people's lives.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Um, Wanted to come back to it as a nerd here for a moment. The software you implemented was it Delta Cost Point?
Yes, it was.
Yeah. Yeah. One of our favorites. Great. Well, thank you for the overview. I'm sure there's so many other little nuggets to ask about, but I did want to ask, in your opinion and recommendations for those for our viewers. Not everyone gets the opportunity to be CFO, even if they really, really want to. If
Yeah.
someone, if you're speaking to those that really want to be a CFO, what are some recommendations, some advice that you would give?
Yeah, good question. I'll just acknowledge I had a great boss at Emis who went to bat for me. Yeah, he was transitioning into retirement, and so he went to bat. I try to keep that front of mind as I manage folks. All of us who have gone through career progression, I think at some point have had other people who have elevated us in our careers. And so that's something I want to be able to offer folks.
Yeah.
Um, it was interesting the way he did that. He allowed me to contribute to the slide deck for the first board meeting after the Berman's acquisition of the business. And so I helped put that together. He invited me to the board meeting. Thought, hey, this is a neat opportunity. You get to sit in and be a part of these strategic discussions. And when it came time for the financial presentation, he looked across the table and said, "You're up." And so was not expecting that, but I was ready for it.
Yeah.
And it helped me. It gave me an opportunity to build some rapport and trust with the members of the board before that position actually became open. And so I think that helped. Uh, that helped there. Um, in terms of recommendations, I would say, the first boss I had out of college told me, "You will advance in your career if you work hard and get along with people." And maybe that's overly simplified, but there's many professionals out there that have one of those two qualities, but not both. So I really think it is, while a simple formula, one that works and contributes to advancement. Um, from a finance perspective, you know, you need to give the organization a view into the future as a CFO.
Hmm.
If you're coming up in corporate accounting, you're always looking at the past
Right.
until you hit the controller level, and then CFO, you need to be looking out even further than the current year.
Exactly.
So you need to be able to give a clear roadmap to people. If your destination is to achieve certain financial metrics, what stages or gates do you need to go through to get there?
Yeah.
Um, and so, you know, you're setting financial targets as you put together that forecast. You want to bring people in alongside you so they understand why those financial targets are in place, not just, handing out figures for folks. Um, and then, that long-term view into the future also helps you identify risk. You need to, again, understand what your target is and understand the sources of income that are going to get you there. Is it backlog and recompete, which are, more stable and reliable sources of revenue versus qualified pipeline opportunities or upsell opportunities on existing contracts, or unidentified new business opportunities that you need to win. So that helps you understand and have discussions with your chief growth officer. Do you have the right size business development team to really hit those targets? And so the organization needs that view into the future in order to make the right decisions to get there. Um, Another tip, you have to understand um, how businesses are valued, and so getting into even a sell side opportunity, I think, exposes you to some of
Yeah.
those concepts. But you have to understand what's going to drive value and what's going to differentiate you from your competitors. And it's critical to be able to understand that in order to support or establish the right strategy, advise the CEO on strategic objectives, and effectively communicate to the board where the business is going and what needs to be done. Lastly, I would say you sit in a very unique role as the CFO. You see everything happening in the business through the lens of finances, and there's really no one else in the organization who sees that. And so, there's at least two things you need to do with that information. One, you can't allow yourself to be the only one who sees it. You have to, you know, share that information. There's obviously sensitive information that we deal with that has to be handled with care, but you don't want to hold the financials too closely. You need to bring in the rest of the organization into that. So you really are a partner and a team member, not an isolated role. And the other thing you need to do with that is to be able to understand the story outside of the financials. So understand the context behind the numbers so you can weigh risks and bring in other folks alongside you at the decision making process, instead of just reaching conclusions by the numbers without that context. So you only get there by asking questions, and that's another reason why, I think relationships and building those relationships throughout the organization is so critical, so that you have that color into the business and things that are happening, and yeah, the context behind those numbers.
Yeah. Wow. Thank you. Couple nuggets there, just pulling away. So, I think you said be getting along with people and working hard, right? To reflecting on that while you were mentioning it, I heard very early on something similar, but it was work hard, work smart, be nice. Those three, kind of like the what is it, the stool, three-legged stool, and if you can capitalize on each of those, then that's yeah, you're gonna do just fine.
I like that third leg that you added. Actually, is the work smart.
Yeah,
Uh,
the work smart piece, I
so
think a lot of people
that's
forget because you could have that really great shovel, but it's never gonna beat average guy with a bulldozer.
yeah.
Um, yeah, I mean, opportunity. We've asked a lot of people this. What how did you get to where you got? And a lot of it is, opportunity. Like you said, you had a really great boss. I think that's I've had great bosses. There's some folks I was thinking of as you're mentioning that. You really just got to capitalize on that opportunity when you're called on in that big meeting and you got to stand up. And I'm sure at the time that might have been pretty intimidating for you, but you probably handled it like a champ just fine. Yeah, just capitalizing on opportunities. Um, Good. Well, wanted to wrap up here shortly. Anything else you want to share with us about DCG, about yourself, about the market, what you'd like to see? I know we talked about a little bit, but anything else you want to leave us with?
Yeah, I mean, I think I've talked enough about myself. I would say, just throw it out there. If you need a tech-enabled partner to advance your mission or amplify your message, you know where to go. DCG is that partner. And the other thing I would offer is, if you're watching this and you have aspirations to become a CFO or enter into the private equity space, even if you don't know me, feel free to reach out. Reach out to me on LinkedIn. I'd love to chat more, share information, share experience. I've had a number of other CFOs that I think have provided inspiration and direction. Um, and so I'll never stop learning, but you don't learn by staying in your bubble. So
Sure.
please,
Yeah.
anyone who would like to, feel free to reach out. I'd love to engage with you.
Yeah. Thank you for adding that. No, you're a student forever. Really, there's what 8 billion people now on the planet, and you can learn something from everyone. The community has been amazing since we started GovCon Leader Circle officially, and even before that. I get nuggets from you, nuggets from other CFOs, other folks in C-suite and leadership. Yeah, reach out to John if you're curious and want to learn more from him. And well, thank you so much for being here, John. I appreciate it. Thanks for doing this.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, Billy.
If you enjoyed this, please like and subscribe. Have a great week. Thanks so much.